Now, the second movement of the Moonlight sonata is a short story. It's just 1 page long, and Allegretto means quite fast and light, and D flat major is the key signature. It's just another way, an easier way of writing C sharp major, which is like the opposite key of the first and last movement. They're both in C sharp minor. Now, at first, I really didn't like this movement. I thought the melody kind of borders on being cliché. It doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and it's just repeated a bunch of times. But the movement fills a very important function within the sonata as a whole. Because the last and first movement are really heavy pieces in minor, you need something bright in between to kind of lighten up the mood a little. So that's why you have this. It's one more thing that's good to know about here, because before Beethoven in music history, so Haydn and Mozart, it was common practice to have a minuet as a middle movement within a sonata or a symphony or a suite even. And the minuet is like an upper class court dance, quite light, in triple time, but very polite and restrained, like court dances usually are. And let's listen to a minuet that Beethoven composed. He wrote one quite famous minuet in G, like this. So you can hear it's very, courtly and polite and like that. Now, what happened in music history? Starting with Beethoven, the minuet movement gradually got replaced by a scherzo movement. So a scherzo movement is really high energy and really light and quite humorous, because scherzo literally means joke in Italian. And it's also related to the balance of the works, the symphonies and sonata, because they got bigger and heavier and the first and last movements. So in order to keep the perfect balance, you need an even lighter and higher energy scherzo middle movement. And now, this movement in the sonata, Moonlight sonata, you can see it as being right in the middle of this transformation between being a minuet and a scherzo. Because it's not as slow tempo as in the minuet tempo, but it's not as fast as a scherzo really. So it's quite interesting in that way. That's the first part, and then the melody, we get a new phrase with a little episode here. And then the first melody is repeated. Then it's slightly expanded in the end here. That's the first part of the movement. Then there's a middle section in the movement. And in minuets and scherzo, it's called a trio section. And there's always some contrasting material in the middle section, the trio. And here we have a wonderful Beethoven feature of making it really heavy and rhythmic. Get the feeling that if we had this more like a minuet for the court dance, the polite court dance before, now it's like we're going down below the decks in Titanic. We have the upper class above, and then you see the working class people having a wild party and really letting go in this very rustic manner. also have the same idea in another famous piece by Beethoven, his Sixth Symphony, the Pastoral Symphony. In the third movement, the Scherzo movement, in the trio section, you have this. And the significant feature here is this open fifth interval in the bass. It's hard and it's repeated. Now, this is kind of the same thing you have in the Moonlight movement. Now we're in D flat, so it's a heavy bass statement that gives it this feel of like the barn party. And then after this is just 8 bars repeated. Now we have suddenly a change of scene again. We have this. And here I get the image of, we have this wild barn party. And then the camera rises and we see sitting in the second floor in the window our main character looking out over this lake in the moonlight and being miserably unhappily in love. And this is what like he's thinking, because we kind of have this rustling in the distance down here, but the main line has much more friction to it, also with the chords. And then that's repeated, and then the whole, like the Minuet section, is also repeated. The whole movement, even with all the repeats, is just a very short scene, and also it's preparing the last movement, the final fight of the last movement. So let's have a listen to the whole second movement as the interesting moment in the sonata that it is. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to my channel and support my work on Patreon at patreon.com/sonatasecrets, and stay tuned for new video every week.